I want to recreate this bag, but I want to have it as little individual quilted squares. So I'm going to show you a really cool technique that is going to make this so much easier than trying to piece all the individual squares together. Okay, so I've picked out my fabrics that I want to use for this, and I have got 4, but of course you can do as many fabrics as you want. The key thing here is your interfacing. You can use regular interfacing, but you're going to need to draw on a grid if you do that. So you can also buy this gridded interfacing, and this is from Finalizing, and it has this drawn on or printed on grid all over it. I believe you can get different size grids, but this is a 1-inch grid. We're actually not using the 1-inch because that is just so small. We are going to be using 4 at a time. So I have got my pattern piece, which this one is this top piece here. And I have measured it across, and I know that piece is 6.5 inches wide. So we then need to translate that into how many squares. So I want to have, or I want to use these squares, of course, but I'm going to use 4 at a time so that I have got a 2 by 2 inch square. So because my pattern piece measures 6.5 inches across, I know that when this is stitched, we are taking off 1/4 inch all the way around. So actually each one of these 4 squares is going to translate down into 1.5. So I need to translate my 6.5 inches into 1.5 sections. That makes sense. So obviously it doesn't go in fully into that. So we are going to be needing 1 square is, or 1 square of fabric is going to be 1.5. So 3, 4.5, 6. So that is 4. I'm going to be needing 5 squares across because I need it to be bigger than my piece. I'm then going to do the same this way, and I have worked that out to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down as well, so that this piece will fit in, because the thing is this whole thing is going to squish down because we're sewing up seams as we go. You will see when we get to that bit. Okay, so I've cut out my grid. I know that this is what I need. I'm then going to cut out my squares. I've also done this for the other parts of the pattern. So I am doing this part here, and I'm doing my 2 end pieces. So all of this kind of alcohol ink print vinyl is going to be in the squares, and then for this pattern I'm going to do a faux leather for the base. So I've worked out all my squares. This one is a little bit trickier because it is a very shaped piece. So for this one I have worked out the width of this, and I know that I need 2 of my squares, because remember each square is 4 on this grid. It is a little bit confusing, but you will see when we get to placing down the fabric. I've then worked out it is 2 2-inch squares up from this bottom to create that shape. So I'm going to be filling in this part of the grid. And again, this grid is obviously a lot bigger because the whole thing is going to shrink down. And I have done the same for my 2 end pieces. So once you've worked out all of your grid pieces, or like I say, if you're going to use regular interfacing, then you're just going to want to draw on the size of your pieces that your squares that you're going to cut. So I'm going to presume that you're doing the same as me, 2 by 2 inch squares. So you're going to be drawing a grid of 2 by 2 inch squares across your interfacing, and you want to use a light to medium weight interfacing. I would recommend, if you want to have a specific brand, I like the Finalizing F220 type interfacing. So I've cut out my squares already, and some of them I have fussy cut. These 2 are Tula Pink, and so I have fussy cut around the different shapes and the lions, but obviously that's going to depend on your fabric. And I've worked out that I need 82 of these squares in total to cover the different pieces that I'm doing. So let's start off with our PP2, our flap for that pattern. And I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to place these fabrics where I want them to sit. I want to have my line in the middle, so I'm going to make sure that that line face is in the middle of the handle. Maybe I'll do it slightly lower than the middle so that it ends up being around about here. And obviously, depending on the pattern that you're using, it's going to depend on where you place different parts of your fabric. And you want to make sure that the interfacing, the glue part of the interfacing, is facing up so that they are wrong sides together. Okay, so now that that is all in place, I'm then going to carefully take it over to my ironing board and I'm going to press that all in place. Remember, the glue part is facing up so that you are activating the heat and it's all going to stick down. And I'm using a Teflon sheet just to protect my iron and also the wool mat. Now that that's all secured in place, I'm going to go over to the machine and we are going to sew seam lines down all of these edges. So I'm going to fold the work like that, and obviously we've got the grid on the back that we can follow. And we're going to be doing, like I say, a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And I'm going to do a 2.5 stitch length. Then I'm going to open it up and I'm going to continue down. So the next line of stitching, obviously we're doing a 2x2 grid. So I'm skipping that line, I'm going with the next line, folding it on that edge and stitching down. Opening it up and folding down along that next line. A little bit of fabric stuck in there, so I'm just going to snip, try and make a small hole so that I can pull that out. There we go. It's quite easy to go against those grid lines, so just keep on those lines when you fold. Then it looks like that. With those lines stitched, we are then going to be stitching in the other direction. So I've opened it up and I'm going to fold it going in the other direction. And of course you can choose which way you want your seam lines to go, your seam allowance. If you want to, you can snip along and open up that edge and butterfly your seams open. Totally up to you. That will make it slightly less bulky. And I've actually done a whole quilt like this. I will pop a link to that up on the screen right now and also a link in the description below too. Open that up and fold the next one down. And of course, once you've chosen the direction of your seam allowance, you want to make sure that it is the same all the way through. Okay, so now it looks like this, and you may find that there's a few stray hairs that you want to pull out, threads I should say, so just check on those and then you can give it a bit of a press. And I'm just going to check that my pattern piece fits, and it does. So thank goodness my measurements were correct. Then you can do double stitch lines across those lines, which is a really nice feature to quilt it. If you're going to add batting or wadding onto the back, then obviously this is a good time to do that as well. I am thinking for this, as it's quite a small pouch and this does create quite a lot of stiffness with all the seam lines, I am actually not going to use fusible fleece or wadding onto the back, but of course you totally could. I would say if you're making a pouch or a bag that is bigger or doesn't have these kind of structural pieces, like this has binding on the inside, and with all the curves that also creates a lot of structure too. So if you don't have that, then I would recommend you add a fusible fleece or wadding to the back before quilting. For my top stitch, I like to lengthen to a stitch length of 4, and I'm going to go around about 1/8 of an inch or a couple of millimeters from each side all the way along. But before I do that, I'm just going to change up my thread to match the project a little bit better in hindsight. Okay, so now I have done all the 4 pieces that I want to do for my pattern. We are then going to carefully place our pattern pieces on and think about the placement within those squares. And I'm going to show you the most complicated shape. And I've noticed that it is a little bit tricky to get it on, but I can get it within that shape that I've cut. And any of these little kind of edgy bits here are within the seam allowance anyway. So I'm happy with that. So I'm going to place it on. Notice that I'm placing it so that they are both right sides up rather than doing it on the back of the fabric, so that I can see exactly which part of the design is kind of within the pattern piece. And then using a friction pen, and I'm going to draw it around. I want to make sure that my pattern piece is nicely weighted, and because this is cut on the fold, I'm lining that up with the middle of one of those squares. Flip my pattern piece over and do the same with the other side. This is a great technique that can be used for bag making or quilting. I love it for bag making because you don't need to do quite as much as if you're doing quilting, but it's great for scraps and it gives a lot of lovely texture to your bags. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut out my pattern piece, my shape. You can of course use a rotary cutter like you would if you regularly use a rotary cutter. However, just be aware, because of that seam allowance, sometimes your rotary blade can get stuck and you can kind of go a little bit off piece, which is when mistakes happen. question that gets asked a lot is about cutting through your stitches. Now, normally that kind of makes me wince a little bit because of course you are jeopardizing the seam. However, all of these stitch lines are going to be caught in the seam allowance, so generally there doesn't seem to be an issue when I've done this in the past. Going to repeat that with the other pattern pieces and my other pieces. Okay, so now I am ready to construct my bag. If you'd like to see me make this into the Curvio pouch, you can go ahead and find the link in the description to join us over on that video. Thank you so much for watching. Coming up on the screen right now is another tutorial that I think you're going to love. If you found this interesting, please do share it with your sewing friends, and I shall see you on the next tutorial.